Friday, February 17th, 2023, Maneco64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So today we're going to look at whether a comprehensive cyber attack could be a pretext for not just a financial reset. It would be much worse, I would say, and hopefully this won't happen. But there are many things out there in the world that are happening that make me worry about such an event. Before I start, though, just to update you on Rudy. There he is. He's growing very quickly. He's been a very good boy generally. And yeah, so now I'm going to take him back outside because you never know what he's going to do. He's still really young. So I'll come back in a second. So back to the comprehensive cyber attack. Some would call it a cyber pandemic. The World Economic Forum and other institutions that work with it, they've had exercises. I think it was called the Cyber Polygon. It could have been, I think, last year. But also in 2020, we were warned about it by Klaus Schwab. And here's a clip of his warning.
We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison.
So, as you can see, he said a cyber attack, comprehensive cyber attack, would make the COVID-19 crisis seem like a small disturbance. So, I think it's important for me to give you my opinion. And I'm not trying to scare people or be a doom monger here. I'm just trying to read the tea leaves, so to speak. And why do I think we could be ripe for something like this? And it wouldn't just be a financial reset. It would be something much bigger, because it would make the COVID-19 crisis seem like a small disturbance. And we all know what happened during that crisis. So what makes me think that we're ripe for some kind of cyber pandemic or comprehensive cyber attack? Well, it's to do with the old strategy in sports of a head fake. You want someone to go the other way, you look the other way, you distract them. And unfortunately, I think there's something huge out there. Of course, the mainstream media is not really covering it. And that's the Nord Stream 2 sabotage. And the fact that it's all coming out now that there's a very good chance that it was Joe Biden who ordered it, is being even exposed by people like Jim Rickards. And Jim Rickards, he's worked for all the major governmental institutions in the U.S. He was a former advisor to the CIA, as he says in his recent talk about this. He did work with the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Treasury, even the Pentagon. So the fact that it's coming from him is quite significant, I would say. This is not just like some conspiracy theorists out there. And right now, yes, the mainstream media is keeping this off the radar, not just in the US, but in the UK. I think the UK was a big part of it. I think Liz Truss, on the day that the incident happened, texted someone and said it's done a few minutes afterwards. What did she mean by that? We'd like to hear from Liz Truss about that. So yes, this is concerning, and this is a huge story. And again, that's why I'm concerned about some kind of event. And of course, he mentioned Seymour Hersh, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who's done a piece on that, and he's given proof, and he's got his how can I say, his sources. And recently as well, and this hasn't really been publicized much in the mainstream media, but yeah, this is from the February 15th, and this is from TASS, Russian news agency. Russia requests UN Security Council meeting on Nord Stream sabotage for February 22nd. If this is true, because not proven yet, but there's a very good chance that it is, it means that the US government and its allies have acted like people that are, it starts with a T, I don't want to use the word, you know, it's the kind of thing that they blame Iran and Hezbollah for, and that's very serious. It would mean a loss of credibility for the major power of the world. So it says here, Russia has requested that a UN Security Council meeting be held to discuss the Nord Stream gas pipeline sabotage on February 22nd. So they're looking for that in 5 days. Russian First Deputy Permanent Representative to the UN, Dmitry Polyansky, said on his Telegram channel Wednesday, in light of new information regarding the bombing of the Nord Stream gas pipelines, we have requested a UN Security Council meeting held on February 22nd, 3 p.m. New York time, he said. And this is interesting. At the same time, at 3 p.m., the UN General Assembly special session will resume its work with an anti-Russian resolution planned to be put to a vote. So this is getting very interesting. Of course, the Security Council has 15 members. It's got 5 permanent members, who are China, France, Russian Federation, the United Kingdom, and the United States. They have, of course, a veto. So, and then you have 10 other members who they rotate every 2 years. Right now, it's Albania, Brazil, Ecuador, Gabon, Ghana, Japan, Malta, Mozambique, Switzerland, and the United Arab Emirates. So we'll have to see what happens. So yes, things are heating up. How long can they keep this off the mainstream media? Well, for quite a long time, I guess. The only other main news agency I saw reporting this was Reuters. And they came out the same day, as you can see here, Russia to call a UN Security Council meeting over Nord Stream blasts. So they've reported it, but if you Google that and go news, you will see nothing on CNN, CNBC, or any or BBC, any of the mainstream, how can I say, platforms. What else makes me think that we're ripe for some kind of cyber event, especially in the financial sector? And the financial sector, I've been warning about the massive derivatives bubble that we have into the quadrillions. And recently, we've had a problem with all the major futures exchanges in the US, not just COMEX, gold and silver, but all of it, all their data in terms of the open interest from the CFTC hasn't been published since the 24th of January. They publish it usually on Friday night. So today we'll have to see if that's been solved. But one that their data providers, Ion, which is based in Ireland actually, they had a ransomware or a hack. And the worrying thing is that they haven't really given any updates. And yes, why is this significant? Well, despite the fact that the exchange-traded derivatives, which the futures exchanges are, the amount of derivatives they trade notionally is a lot smaller than the OTC. They're very important because a lot of times the OTC derivatives, the participants in that market, they hedge with the exchange traded derivatives, interest rates, the government bond futures market is all part of the exchange traded, and there's no data coming out of that. And we are also seeing that interest rates are starting to pick up again. And by interest rates, I mean the government bond yields. And that's a huge problem. We're seeing that the United States, the UK, even Europe, I would say, are having a huge problem still with inflation, despite the fact that they've been raising rates, and it's coming to a head. Interestingly, someone who has, well, is a mouthpiece, so to speak, for the World Economic Forum, her name is Gillian Tett. She's a writer, a journalist for the Financial Times. She goes to the World Economic Forum every year and has been going for years. She wrote yesterday, the financial system is alarmingly vulnerable to cyber attack. Regulators need to scrutinize tech vendors and other digital companies far more closely. And she talks about this ION company and the U.S. Commodities Futures Trading Commission. I'm not going to go through the whole article, but I just thought it interesting that someone who's tightly connected to Klaus Schwab has now come out and actually said something about this CFTC problem. And it's a very arcane topic. It's not something that you talk to your friend about at the pub or playing golf or anything. It's to do more with the financial markets. And I'm going to put a link to this article below in the description under archive.ph so you can read it. So this is why I'm concerned. And what can you do to prepare for what Klaus Schwab said, a crisis that would be seen as a small disturbance compared to COVID-19? Well, one thing is your savings in the bank. Would it be, probably would be safe, but everything would be frozen. You wouldn't have access to it. So I would say having a little bit of cash at home would be good. Having a little bit of extra stuff that you need for everyday survival would be good. I'm not a prepper, and I hope I'm wrong about this. But yes, things are getting very, very interesting. It feels like the calm before the storm. I also saw just a headline this morning that there's a U.S. Official going to Taiwan because they're concerned about an invasion. So things are really, anything could happen. It's not just a cyber pandemic. It could be some kind of conflagration with China in relationship to Taiwan. With that, let's quickly look at the markets. And before I look at the markets, I just wanted to let you know about this very interesting exclusive report by the Wealth Research Group that they've done on silver. All right, so it's 8 a.m. London time. So let's look at the markets and let's think of what happened when in March 2020 when we had the lockdown crisis started, the COVID crisis. Well, everything dumped very sharply, and then the central banks came and rescued everything. They threw everything at it. So that's what I think could happen with a cyber event that would probably close everything down. The markets would be closed down. It would be much more serious than what happened in 2020. The reactions of the central banks and governments would be humongous. So I don't really know what's going to happen, but all I think is important to do is to sit tight and not panic. So we've got spot gold here down $15 at 1820. The low's been 1819.75, so we're right near the lows. The high's been 1837. Silver is down 30 cents or 1.4%, trading at 21.26, right near the lows. High's been 64. Dow futures is down 152. So we're continuing to see the markets come off. We had, of course, PPI yesterday. It was a very strong number. We had very weak numbers in terms of the Philly Fed, and we had weak numbers as well in terms of housing data. So it looks like stagflation is here to stay. Central banks are not really being capable of controlling inflation or prices, as I like to say it. So let's continue. The NASDAQ futures down another 100 points. The S&P is down 27 points. To the currencies, we got sterling down 0.6% at 119.19. The euro is down a third at 106.41. The dollar is up 0.75% versus the yen, 134.92. And the dollar is up a third as well versus the yuan at 688.90. So that's another sign that things aren't great right now. People are going to the dollar. I wouldn't be going to the dollar, of course. I don't want to finance the administration and their shenanigans. Yeah, I think that's what happened as well just prior to the March 2020 crash. People went to the dollar. To the other currencies, we've got Aussie dollar, that's coming off as well. That's down 0.75%, 68.30. The dollar's up 0.5% versus the Canadian dollar, or 0.4 actually, at 135.08. And the Kiwi dollar is down 0.7% at 62.03. To the general commodities, platinum is actually unchanged at around 922. So not much move in platinum. WTI crude is down 1.75% at 77.30. Brent crude is down 1.7% at 83.44. High grade copper is down 0.7% at 408.67. And US nat gas, that's down 1.8% at 2. So let's check the bond markets. Bond markets as well are coming under pressure now because I think the bond market realizes the central banks have a fight, a war that's unwinnable, I think, against inflation. So we got the 10-year yield approaching 4% again. We are up 6 basis points at 391. The high overnight has been 393. Let's look at the UK bond market. A few days ago, the UK bond market rallied, and I said, I think this is just like a counter trend rally, and we're going to see yields go up again and the prices go down. And lo and behold, here we are. The 2-year, which is very important for setting mortgage rates, that's up 8 basis points at 387. That's a recent high. And as you can see by this chart, the trend doesn't look very good. It's breaking out. The 10-year is up another 10 basis points at 360, and the 30-year is quickly approaching 4%. We're at 399 and a half, so virtually at 4%. So that's not a good thing. Central bankers and governments in trouble. Why governments? Well, because governments are the biggest debtors out there, and if the cost of financing that debt and even financing, they're having to borrow more to pay the interest. If that keeps going up, that's a huge problem. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day, a very good weekend. Take care. Bye.